Hey guys, welcome back to Rathburn Contracting. Today I have a little bit different of a video. I wanted to show you guys my favorite tools and things I use on a daily basis to make me money. This is not a sponsored video. Nothing in this video is sponsored. This is all things that I've bought with my personal money, tried them out, put them to the test, and I've found the absolute best winner. I'm a big fan of buy once, cry once. Buy the right tool for the job, you save your health. So let's get into it. Alrighty guys, today we're going to do a little bit different of a video. I want to walk you through my favorite tools as a contractor, as a business owner, and specifically as a concrete guy. If you're a carpenter or other trades close to that, this will be relevant, but this video is going to be specific to concrete contractors. Alrighty, first up, in my opinion, the most important would be boots. You wear these every day. This really determines your back, your hip, your toe safety, pretty much everything. This might be a little controversial. Everybody has their favorite boot brand. And this is going to be the only one that I have not figured out yet. So this would really help me out, guys. Please let me know if you guys are concrete guys and have found a good boot that works good for you. Let me know down below. Cannot be steel toe, cannot be waterproof, and ideally would be a flat sole. Those are my criteria for my perfect boot, and I have tried, I think, pretty much everyone out there except like the crazy cheap Amazon ones. I've tried these Carhartts. These are what Ryan from Victory wears, or at least it seems like he does. I didn't like these. I felt like I was wearing tennis shoes. They were pretty affordable, they were pretty comfortable, but I just felt super vulnerable because they were so slim feeling, and I just felt like a 2x4 was gonna poke right through them. They also were not the best for bending over. I found a lot of stiffness in this heel, and I would say I've given pretty much all of the boots I'm going to talk about a fair break-in period of probably at least 2 months. Next, we're going to go to the Brunts. These are what a lot of guys on Facebook talk about. This is the 6-inch Marin soft toe. Had a lot of hope for this boot from what everybody said. I have very wide feet, so I took the sole out like they recommend, but this was one of the stiffest boots I've ever worn. I tried and tried, but this front really cut into the front of my foot, right where your foot goes to your ankle, right kind of here, and was giving me a lot of discomfort. So I just had to stop wearing these. These are probably the pair I've worn the least. So if it is something where you got to just keep wearing them and tough through it, let me know, because I've heard a lot of good things about this, and maybe I just got unlucky with the bad pair, but not too happy with the Brunts. I've thrown away a lot of boots. My go-to for a long time was the Georgia, both the 6 and the 9-inch. I wore this for probably 6 or 7 years straight, the only boot I wore. And I probably went through 10 or 12 pair. I usually go 2 to 3 pair of boots per summer. And I really liked those. And during COVID, they came out with like I think it was an AMP or AMP. It was a new type of leather. And it was a 9-inch tall, and it was the best boot I ever wore. It was like 120 bucks, so it was a great price point. It was the only pair of boots that I've ever worn that lasted a full summer. It was actually like a year and a half where the toe did not blow out. Georgia, if you're watching, I'm not sure why you discontinued it. You guys still have the 6-inch, but I like the 9-inch. I'm clumsy, tripping over stuff all the time. I need that extra ankle support. So if you guys bring that back, I will buy 100 pair of them so that I can wear them for the rest of my life. But after they discontinued those, the first pair I bought were the Irish Setters. Really liked those. They were the most comfortable boots I've ever worn, but I have very sweaty feet, and I actually got trench foot. It was like a serious foot infection because it didn't breathe at all. And I couldn't even, I would come out to the barn and shower before I went inside because my feet smelled so bad. I could not get that off of my foot. So it could be a me problem. They're very comfortable, especially if you're more of a project manager or aren't busting your butt like crazy and sweating really hard, but they just did not work for me. So unfortunately, I had to throw them away probably 3 months into having them. After that, I don't remember which order I did all these in, but I switched to Keen. This is what Kyle from RR Buildings wears. And a lot of these things, you guys, I've watched other channels, bought what they use because they're sponsored, they're much bigger channels, so they're going to likely have the best of the best. So I kind of tried to save some time by just starting off with what they wore and testing it to see if it actually was the best. And a lot of these things you'll see today is actually true. I really was happy with the Keens. Super affordable price point, extremely wide toe box, so your toes do this and they don't get cramped together all day, which is super important for your foot health and everything. The only thing about these, not super durable. Concrete guys, you're constantly kneeling down and wearing through that toe. So this is always the first spot to fail. Very rarely do I rip a stitch on any boot that I've ever bought. because they don't last that long. The toes always wear through first. I have wrapped these with the Red Wing Tough Toe, or whatever brand that is. I'll put it up on the screen here. Great product, but it didn't stick very well to these. I got about 1 month out of them and they wore right off. And then I also have these Keens. These are steel toe. I only use these in the winter because these don't even fit in my knee skis when I'm trying to bend over. So I usually wear these when I'm doing heavy equipment operating or something like that, where I'm not gonna be on my hands and knees a ton. These Keens right here are still my go-tos. They're what I'm wearing right now. They're what I wore last summer. These right here are my second pair of the summer, but they seem to be holding up pretty well. Got a little bit of toe showing from the heel, and the toe is starting to wear down, so only a matter of time. They'll probably make it a month or two in the spring, and then I'll probably buy these pair again, unless you guys let me know down below a better option to try. All right. Next up is going to be tape measures. This is really subjective. Everybody's got their favorite, especially depending on your industry. Again, this is a concrete video, so I'm going to speak to concrete guys. I've tried, I'm gonna say every brand out there. If I was a framer, what I built our house with, the Lufkin 35-foot Shock Force G2. Super small, fits in your pouch like a 25-footer, but this is a 35-footer with crazy standout. The problem I've found with these, I've probably gone through 5 or 6 of these, is you're doing concrete work. You're always getting your tape covered in concrete and dirt, and the assembly in here doesn't hold up too well because the tolerance is actually too nice, and this is kind of pricey. So for a concrete guy, I don't think I'd recommend this. I tried it for a while, but I was going through too many of them and they're just a little too expensive. Same thing with all these off brands. These are fine, but they're going to rust out. You're really gonna get what you pay for. Same thing with Master Force, right in the middle. I have 2 favorites, and they're right here. We have the Craftsman 30-footer and the Stanley Powerlock 30-footer. I would say it really depends on how dirty you're gonna get. A lot of muddy job sites and stuff, I'm going with the Craftsman. Pretty clean, you're working on a lot of sand and gravel, not a ton of mud. I'm going with the Stanley Powerlock. These are both great tape measures. They have a pretty large opening here, so when you do have a lot of dirt and you're pulling it out, give it a good shake, and they seem to kind of clean themselves, if you will, pretty well. And most importantly, they're not very expensive. They're kind of right in the middle, which is why I choose these ones for my go-to tape. Next is kind of a fun one. This is hammers. This is, again, something quite subjective, but I can confidently say I personally have found the best one for concrete, and I'm actually gonna walk through all these hammers quickly and explain why I don't like most of them. Again, this is going to be different for everybody depending on how you form. We use round 3/4 inch pins, 4 per 2x4. We use duplex 8s to nail them to the 2x4, and then pull the nails, pound the stakes, and that's pretty much what I use a hammer for. First up, Milwaukee. Great hammer, pretty affordable. Overall, super durable, pretty good for pounding stakes, but I don't like it. This is way too straight. When you're going down to pull your nail out of your stake or pull a toenail, this angle is just not right, and you have to kind of fiddle with it and go a lot further than normal. Sounds picky, but when you're doing hundreds and hundreds of stakes, every second counts. Next, we're gonna have the DeWalt. This is just a little 16, but I've had the 20 or the 22 before. Again, great hammer. I really like the handle, but this angle is just a little too straight for me. Next, we have the Fiskars. By far the best brand for pickaxes and sledgehammers, and actually a lot of other tools, but hammers, they're not my favorite. It's a great balance, really nice gel handle, and this is a pretty straight back. However, that's not why I dislike this hammer. It's this hole right here. A lot of times when you dig into the backyard and you're going to pound a nail in a stake, you don't have enough room to actually swing it. You might be a mulch bed, there might be some landscaping or something, and a lot of times, I would say maybe 30% of the time, I'm pounding the nail in with the side of my hammer, not the face of it. And that hole stops you from doing it. So I was having to twist it and hit the side of the head to pound that nail in, and that was just way too hard on the wrist. Next, we're gonna have the Master Force. Super cheap, but it does have a nice angle. However, I do not like the perfectly straight handle. I've broken one before. You're railing like crazy. You miss your stake because somebody's talking to you, you're not paying attention, and you hit this handle on your stake enough, it's gonna snap. Next, we're gonna go to the Stanley Anti-Vibe. This is a really solid hammer. I keep this in my shop for demolition. If I'm doing something a little rough, like beating on trailers or something a hammer really isn't meant for, really great. However, the Anti-Vibe is not so anti-vibe, and this handle really transfers a lot of the vibration into your wrist, which again, might not seem like a big issue if you're a homeowner or something, but when you're pounding steel pins into clay, it really matters the comfort of your hammer. Next up, we got the Cobalt. This tape here is a little hint as to why we cannot stand it. I can't remember what we used to call it. Something funny, because it used to ring so much. When you hit this, it is hard to describe, but it's almost like a loud bell. It vibrates so much, we had to put this tape on here so that it didn't annoy people around us because it was ringing so badly. So I'm gonna give this an F-, and I will never buy a Cobalt hammer again. Next up, we have the Estwing framing hammer. And as you can see, this is a great 24-ounce framing hammer for building houses, but it's not so great for driving steel pins. I actually snapped the head off of it in 2023. We did a big 1,400-foot sidewalk, and that was just a little too many stakes for this whole hammer, and she snapped off. So happy with it, but not for concrete. In second place, we have this Estwing. I'm not sure the model. I have two different sizes here. If you're a concrete guy, I would highly recommend this bigger one. It's going to give you a lot more force pounding down those long stakes into clay. This has been our go-to hammer at Rathburn Contracting for probably 20 years. It's a great price point, super durable. It does have a nice flat solid face to really drive those nails in. These things will last 5 years easily. So depending on what kind of surface you're driving stakes into, I would definitely recommend these if price is a little bit of an issue. Last but not least, not a big surprise, is the Martinez M1. Out of all my favorite tools, this is right up there with them. This was a big investment for me. I bought this at the beginning of 2024. I was the first concrete guy on YouTube I saw using these because I was a little nervous that these were tailored for barn builders, framers, guys using it more for carpentry, and I didn't know if it'd be able to hold up to concrete. Concrete guys are kind of notorious for beating the ever-loving crap out of tools. It's always either in the concrete, in the mud, getting rained on, or being used probably how it wasn't designed to be used. But I can definitely say this hammer has held up. I'm not sponsored or anything again. I bought this with my hard-earned money. This was kind of a gift to myself. And I can say, by far, if you're looking for a good hammer that's going to last, this is definitely my favorite one. It's got a nice flat head that I use pounding here, and I've gotten used to just pounding the stake and then flipping to my left to pound that nail right in. And the best part about this hammer is its weight. From here down, this is all titanium with a steel head. So when I'm swinging stakes, this is not even close to the same weight as this solid steel Estwing. That saves a ton of my wrist. This was the first summer my wrist hasn't hurt at the end. In the past years, I've had a lot of arthritis feeling and pain in my wrist from swinging the hammer so much like this. And this hammer really saved my wrist. So I would actually say this is a really good investment for your health if you're gonna be swinging a hammer for the next couple decades. Next up, we have pouches. This, by far, is the best choice I've ever made for my health, for my back, my hips, everything. You might not think a pouch can make a big difference, and I didn't for a long time, but this right here is an absolute game changer. This is one of Diamondback's setups. We have the Ox on one side, the Mule on the other. They have names for their specific pouches because this is modular, so you can take the strap out of the belt and do any configuration you want. Let me put it on and I'll kind of walk you through what's in my pouch. All right, so first up, got this latch. Super duper handy. I really like this. It's very fast to take on and off once you get used to using it. My pouch setup changes a little bit depending on the job, but this is kind of my standard go-to for most of the summer. Left here, I have my tape measure. That way I'm grabbing my pencil with my right, my tape with my left, and I'm pulling like that. Efficiency is super important, so I keep everything exactly in the same spot. That way I can be talking to Luke or talking to somebody and be going around my pouch grabbing stuff exactly where I know where it's at. I'm not spending time looking for anything. I don't even look down at my pouch to grab stuff. Here, this pocket, I have my duplex nails used for concrete forming. Usually keep this thing about half full because I'm just pounding stakes real fast. Down here is a little empty right now. I usually keep 3-inch screws. That way on the jobs where we do have to screw, like steps or complicated stuff, we got that there. In this pocket, keep a 7-inch speed square, and I also keep a smaller speed square in here. This is kind of a trick from RR Buildings, which I used a lot when I was building our house. This little square is great for trimming stuff. Not super handy for concrete, but I will tell you, it's not that heavy and I've gotten used to keeping it in there. And I have a bad habit of when I go over to where my forms are, I'll use this, cut a form, and I sometimes will leave it there, walk over to the other side of the job, and I'm like, oh no, I don't have a square. And then I remember I've got this thing in there. So it's actually a great backup, and that's why I keep it in here. That way if I do need a quick square and I forget the other one somewhere else, I always have two. Might sound a little goofy, but it's just my system. I already said, keep my tape up here. This is a great tape holster, and this really determines what tape I use, because a lot of the Milwaukees are good tapes, but they're a lot fatter and they don't fit in here, and then you're sitting there trying to squeeze it back down in, and it's just a waste of time. We have the hammer holster. This goes behind the pouch and it allows you to get your hammer real quick. I've gotten in a really good habit of just being able to quickly grab it and slide it back in. You don't want something with too curved of a handle, otherwise you're gonna really have to kind of get it to slide in there quickly. So this is a huge benefit. A typical pouch would have a hammer loop, usually right here. And I will tell you, from all the other pouches, I've probably gone through 10 other pouches. Right here on my knee, all the hair was gone, and most of the summer I would have a bruise right here from this hammer handle just bouncing like that. So this has saved me on a lot of comfort. I always keep it torpedo level, whether I'm trying to plumb a form or steps or whatever. I also keep a utility knife on me. I really like this DeWalt one. This is the best one that I've found. It has spare blade storage, so it comes in handy. If you snap a blade, again, we're concrete guys, we're rough on our stuff. You're cutting through expansion, you're hitting rocks, you're hitting concrete, your blades go dull really quick, so a fixed blade doesn't make any sense to me for concrete. Always going with the utility knife. This front here is where I keep my pencils, any markers I might have for marking in wet scenarios. I usually use this pocket here for scrap stuff. If I bend a nail or if I find a screw in the parking lot or anything, I'll throw it in there and then clean it out every month or so. I keep this one relatively empty because when I'm forming, I usually have my impact on me and I hook it right here. I'm usually forming like this and keeping these pockets empty. This drill with a half pocket of 8s balances out pretty well, and it feels pretty good on the hips. And I still have pretty good access whether I'm using my hammer with nails or my screws and my drill. I have options to do either. Sometimes you can't get a form to suck tight with nails, so I like having the drill as an extra option. And most importantly about this is the comfort of the belt. You can see how tall this is. Other straps are probably a quarter as thick as this. This really transfers the weight nicely. It's hard to describe what this pouch has done for me as far as my back, knee, and hip pain, but by far the tool that I bought that has helped me the most with comfort and aches and pains has been this tool belt. So if you're in the market, it's pricey, but it's going to last you probably 20 years. I've used it very rough. I've done my best to beat it up, and there's hardly any signs of wear. So I'm never switching belts. This will be what I have until they come out with something new. While we're here, might as well talk about pants, just because that's also a comment. A lot of guys online talk about pant brands, and I hate to say it because they seem to be the most expensive, but True Works are my favorite. I made the switch about 3 years ago. Most of my life I've shopped at Costco and secondhand stores to get used jeans, cheap, like $12 pair of pants. The problem with that, you wear through them real quick. The knees last a couple weeks and they're blown out and they're gone. So I figured I'm gonna buy one pair of True Works. They're very expensive. I'm gonna give them a shot, but if they last me a long time, but it'll be worth it because I won't be going through jeans, having to go back to Costco to buy more pants, and I can just stick with the same pair. And I can 100% say they are the best pant, and I don't plan on switching. I still have my first pair, and the only thing that has worn out on them is I've caught my ankle on pieces of rebar, but that's not the pants' fault. Any material would cut under those circumstances. The knees are what I was concerned about, and I really like keeping the same pair of pants because I have kind of a routine. I've got my small utility knife I keep in this pocket every day. It's meant for a phone, but with emailing in the truck and stuff, I have the bigger iPhone, so it doesn't fit in the side pocket. But if you just have a standard size iPhone, it will fit great down in here. Always keep a utility pencil. That way, if I don't have my pouch on me, I always have a knife and a pencil. Then in the left pocket, I keep my ISO tunes. These are the best headphones, and they're what we're getting into next. Alrighty, one of the most ignored things in construction is your hearing. Your ears are so important. There's not much that they can do other than hearing aids once your hearing is gone. I see a lot of other trades completely ignore their hearing, especially masons, it seems like. They will use This concrete saw, cutting block or concrete with no hearing protection, which even if I disregarded my health and didn't care, my ears would be ringing, they would hurt. I would never do something like that. A lot of stuff is actually bad for you. Pounding a stake in with a hammer, a lot of these little things that you don't think about are just damaging your ears slowly, and pretty soon you'll have tinnitus and you'll hear a constant ringing and you can't really do much to get rid of it. So I don't understand it. There's nothing cool or funny about it. Not being able to hear your kids say I love you or something in the future just sounds crazy to me, and it's ridiculous that it's a tough guy thing. I take zero pity on anybody that blows their hearing just to look cool to their coworkers. If you're somebody watching that you do this, consider changing it, because it's not cool to not be able to hear. I've tried 5 or 6 brands. These are definitely my favorite. The most important thing with hearing protection, which is why a lot of guys skip it, is speed and how easy is it for me to get hearing protection in while I'm doing a task. If you have to sit there and roll the foamies and sit there and hold and wait for them, of course, it's a pain in the butt. Nobody wants to do it. You got to make it fast and convenient. That way you actually do it. So these stay in my pocket 24/7, unless when I'm sleeping. But during the day, they're always in my left pocket. I'm gonna show you guys here. This is how long it takes me to get full hearing protection. This is what I do on the job. Boom, right there, back to work. These things are a 27 or 29 decibel reduction, depending on which tip you have. I like the little rubber tips. I don't really like the foam. They don't seem to stick as well when you're moving around all day. I've had these in doing everything on the job site, and I've never had one fall out. The only time when I did, I was walking through the woods one time and a tree branch caught it and ripped it out of my ear. So if you're gonna switch to these smaller earbuds, I would recommend, I gotta go through the graveyard here. Get the green ones. You might be a little bit clumsy, they might fall out of your ear, and it's a lot easier to see this on the ground in the dirt than the all black ones. I just like the look of the all black ones better, so those are the ones that I go with. You might be wondering, why do I have 4 pair? And actually I think I have 3 other pair that are somewhere else. It is not due to a design flaw, it is a me flaw. Most of them, I've forgotten them in my pocket and they've gone through the wash. They don't really like water that much, and it toasts them. They still work great as earplugs, but these are wireless headphones as well, kind of like AirPods, but they actually offer noise reduction. I see guys wearing AirPods on the job site. The noise cancellation is not saving your hearing. They just take a microphone and play the reverse wave of that to cancel out the sound so that you can't hear it. It's still coming in your ear and damaging your hearing. These are actually an OSHA rated ear plug as well as an earphone. So I would highly recommend these. Take your hearing serious. There's no point not to. Alrighty guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I just wanted to share my knowledge and my favorite tools that I've kind of discovered over the past 15 years of working in the trades. If you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like down below. I'd really appreciate it. And also please comment, what's your favorite pair of boots? I want to know. I want to have an upcoming list for the summer. I'd really like to try out a new pair of boots, and we'll see how long they last. Hope you guys are staying warm, and we'll see you on the next one.